Let's talk about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jesse here with JLSComics. Welcome back to the channel. If you're first time stopping by, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we can, you can enjoy the plenty of things that I have coming up here. So today, I wanted to talk to you about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I went to see this movie last night with one of my friends, Claude. Shout out to you, buddy. I was really, have had expectations for this movie for quite some time. I've been following it in the news feeds and on TV and social media, and I've really been I tried to stay away from the spoilers, and I think that really helped when I went into this. I could have potentially had a lot of high expectation for the movie, but I kind of went into it with a bit more of a realistic expectation, and I think that's going to play into my grade. So I'm going to go over a couple things here, spoiler free, and then I'm going to tell you on a 10-point scale what I would have, or not what I would have, but what I would grade this as on that scale. And as a reference point, I think I gave Deadpool like a 9.2, 9.4 range. So I love that movie. So I do grade a little bit strict, I guess you could say. Let's talk about the movie, all right? The Battle of the Orphans, the Battle of the Century, right? You had Batman versus Superman. It was a Superman sequel. Batman's name came first, right? 2.5 hour movie, so fairly lengthy on that end, but they are going to be adding an extra 30 minutes when the Blu-ray comes out, when the disc comes out to buy. So it'll end up being right around the 3-hour mark. It's done really well so far. Thursday opening day, it brought in about 27 million. And then Friday, yesterday, when I went, a little over 80 million. So it's on track for a very, very strong weekend, and I think that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. It's gonna be huge. They could have royally screwed this movie up, and it would still be raking in the dough, right? You had Zack Snyder directing. He's done a couple big movies in the past, and you had some names like Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Diane Lane. Who else was in there? Lawrence Fishburne, Jesse Eisenberg, Jeremy Irons, Holly Hunter, Michael Shannon was back. The lady that I liked as well, her name is Tao Okamoto. And if you're not familiar with her, she started as a character named Mercy Graves, but you may remember her. She was in The Wolverine as Mariko. So she's familiar with this genre of movies. So I'm going to talk about a couple things. I'm going to talk about the visuals for the movie, the story, the acting, and we'll talk about some costumes. And again, I'm trying to keep this very spoiler free. This movie had a huge, massive budget, and you can tell with the CGI and the stage, the sets, that they used every single bit of that budget. Visually, it was very, very stunning. It was just a bath, an explosion of colors and lights and you name it. But even though it was that explosion of light and just electricity, it was very, very dark. The tone of the movie was grim and bleak, and it was in the near future. And I'll get to this. I guess that will kind of lead into what I was talking about with the story. It starts off right when Man of Steel ends. It actually overlaps a little bit, so it just picks up right there, runs with the story, starts off, huge bang action, and then it gets a little bit, there's a few things going on there. It ends up being story-wise a little scattershot, a little random. So it's hard sometimes to pick up. There's multiple plot lines going on. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of exactly what's going on where. In terms of, when I was talking about grim and bleak, it's in the near future. It takes place in a world where Batman is older, he's wiser, he's a bit more jaded, he's lost some people really close to him. He's just has a bit more of a cynical take on the world, I guess you could say. And then the world as a whole does too. Now that we've gone through this this tragedy with General Zod for Man of Steel and this massive destruction in Metropolis, and buildings crumbling. Untold numbers of people died. People are not only questioning that incident, but now there's this alien among us who has this vast powers, and we're very sort of centric in our view of not only the world but the universe. But now suddenly there's this being that came from somewhere else who's so much more powerful than us, and it brings it down a rung. So it calls into question some of those things, and some questions that, in terms of superpower and their use, and should they be used or should they not, those are some questions you're going to probably see in Civil War as well, an upcoming Marvel movie. But getting back to the story, there were a few different plots or subplots going on, and at times I was thinking to myself, okay, what's going on here? Where is this going to lead? What is this scene about? And even Alfred himself said it in the movie at one point. He's he's talking to Batman, who's in the Batwing, his plane, the badass plane. It was cool. He goes, "What's going on?" And that's a thought a couple times that I had myself. So plot-wise, it does make a lot of reference to DC Comics. It might be, and this is a lead-up, as you know, it's not a spoiler, to Justice League. So there are eggs dropped here and there, references, things that were planted as seeds for the future that you need to pick up on. I think some of those things are a little out of place, but with the additional half hour that we're going to get on the disc, I think they'll make more sense. Sort of like that scene from Avengers with the pool, and Thor's looking into the future. It's like, but when you add in the cutout scenes, it does make a bit more sense. So hopefully some of those scenes that I'm talking about with Batman v Superman will be that same situation, where they'll make a bit more sense when we get that extra footage. So the costumes were just freaking awesome, man. They were really cool. If you like the Man of Steel costume that Henry Cavill had from, Man of Steel, that's the same one. It looks cool. It's slick. You can tell it's a quality suit. I like that representation of Superman. It doesn't look like that will get torn off of him very easily, which I think will be, for myself and others, a good thing, and maybe for some of the ladies, maybe not so good of a thing. Batman had multiple suits in this. It wasn't just one suit. He was just like a bulked up, mechanized, armored, ready for war type of Batman. He was ready to throw down, and boy did he in quite a few scenes. In fact, some of those fight scenes that you see in this, or that you will see in this, are some of the best Batman fight scenes, live action, that I've seen, on the screen. I was blown away by some of those things that he did. But he has some suits for the desert. He's got suits for, you name it. There's multiple suits in this, and they're all very cool, and they're not all, perfectly sculptured type of suits. These are like, ready to go to war, ready for, getting beat to shit type of things. In fact, some of it does get damaged, but that's all I'll say about that. Wonder Woman, let's talk about her costume. Not exactly as it is in the comic books, in the source material. It's a bit brighter there, I guess you could say. This is more monochromatic, which it works. It works with the tone and the visual aspect of this movie. It works with the tone of the DC cinematic universe, the DC entertainment universe that they're going for. So it does align with that, and with Gal Gadot in it, it definitely works. I like her take on Wonder Woman. I would have liked to maybe have seen Wonder Woman, more of this Wonder Woman before we got to this point, like maybe planting the seed in Man of Steel so that we can see kind of her capabilities, be introduced to her a little bit more. But that's just a nitpick. So for the acting, we'll talk about the acting. Ben Affleck, there were a lot of naysayers for Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, what? Jiggly or whatever? Geely? He's gonna be Batman? What? But a lot of people in the same sort of light, the same vein, when we had Heath Ledger as the Joker. We're like, what? Heath Ledger? That's the guy from The Patriot, or who knows what else? He's gonna be the Joker? Can he really do that? We had Jack Nicholson and all these other people, but he killed it as the Joker. So my point there is, don't judge an actor on their past roles. Just Ben Affleck is a freaking crazy, badass, awesome Batman, and I am excited to see more of his take on Batman. Like I said, it's a darker, grittier, older, more aggressive, almost angrier Batman. He's lost a lot, and he just takes things to another level. This Batman does kill. He injures people brutally. He shoots people. He definitely doesn't hold back his punches. That's how I'll put it. But I like this this armored Batman. It is definitely cool to see. And then let's talk about Henry Cavill as Superman. If you liked Man of Steel, his take on Superman in that, he brings that to this movie. I happen to like that Superman, that take on Superman, his representation of Superman, his look, his image as Superman. So I was happy to see that again in this movie. There was a couple things, going on with Superman that I feel like they could have touched on a little bit more. Almost a crisis of conscience. He's trying to do good for people, and then, like I was saying before, people are having these questions now that these things have happened. So that in turn is bringing some questions to Superman himself and his place in things and his role and what he should and shouldn't do. So I wish they had pulled that thread out a little bit more. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was great. Not only did she look great in the costume, but her portrayal of Wonder Woman was really good. Like I said, I wish they could have introduced her a little bit earlier so we could have learned more about her. But right now, she is that sort of, alluring, mysterious character that, she'll kill you with her looks or she'll kill you with her sword, So, she does really good. And there were a lot of naysayers on her as well. And to them, I say, shame on you. She did really good. Now on to... I don't know how to put this. I'm trying to be really positive. Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg played a Lex in this movie, and it was not my favorite Lex Luthor. In fact, he was sort of an awkward, socially awkward character, psychotic, a genius, but it didn't really match the tone of the movie for me. I guess maybe, in these types of movies, there needs to be a little bit of comedic relief, per se. Like with Daredevil, we have Foggy, who's, the comedian, and then, I can't even compare it to the Marvel movies because they're different tone to them. But when you have, like, let's take the horror movies, there's always funny one-liners and stuff just to kind of break the tension. So maybe that's what they were going for with this Lex, but it wasn't really a funny Lex. It was just a strange, awkward Lex. And, he's kind of like mumbling and rambling on about Copernicus and Nietzsche and all these things that he doesn't quite, project well himself for us to understand. And maybe that was the point, because he did say at one point that, psychotic is like I'm paraphrasing here, a 3-syllable word, too big for us people to understand. It was something like that. So maybe they were trying to get to the point where we shouldn't really understand him. But that being said, it was a little bit of an awkward character for me, and for that it is a weak point. Now, did this movie set up the Justice League? It did. It did lay some cornerstones and some foundation for the DC universe as a whole and where they're going, but I think that they could have touched on it a bit more. Like I said, there were a lot of subplots going on here. They were trying to do a lot of things with this movie, not to mention the general morality questions they were trying to ask. If they had pulled out maybe a couple of those and focused on really setting up this world, this new world for us, I think that it would have gone a longer way towards really setting up, teeing up those Justice League movies for a home run. Now there are, I'm not going to say if they're in the movie or not, but there are at least references to other characters that we will see. So that is a good thing, right? Now how those are done, I'll leave that for conversation, maybe on a live chat or something, when I know that I don't want to give any spoilers, okay? So that's kind of my spoiler-free review here. We talked about the visuals, we talked about the story, we talked about the acting, and the good and the bad there for all of those. So I'm going to give this movie, on a scale of 1 to 10, a very solid 7.0 is my rating for this movie. It was great. It was, like I said, I went into this movie with, I don't want to say low expectations, but not super high expectations. And I think that played into my favor because I wasn't let down in that regard. I go into these movies wanting to be entertained. You know, I go into this, I want to see Batman. I want to see Batman just kick ass. And I want to see Superman be that light of hope and just be that strong character for justice, you know, and just win, right? And I want to see... You saw it in the trailer, in the trailers. I want to see these two characters in a movie called Batman v Superman. I want to see Batman v Superman, and absolutely we got that. Their motivation for the Batman v Superman, and then the well, I don't want to say that part either. Their motivation could have been a little bit. Stronger, I guess. I don't know. And it wasn't that it wasn't strong. It was maybe the explanation of it didn't bolster it enough to really justify in my mind why these two really were fighting. I mean, I get the whole, you know, thing that happened with Man of Steel and the building, and you know, but later on their motivation for fighting, it was cool. It was awesome to see, but I was like, man, these two should be, I don't know if they should be doing this right now. There's a lot of other things going on. But anyways, that's what I had, a 7.0 on a 10-point scale. Let me know what you thought down below. I did see it. I really want to talk spoilers and what happened. I really want to get into that. Oops, my chair's falling over. So we can talk about that down below in the comments. We can talk about that on one of my other social medias. I'll leave that in the description. Maybe on a live chat. I would love to go on one of those and talk about this movie with some folks, because I have a lot to say about some of these other things that happened too, but I don't want to do that here. That wouldn't be fair to you folks who haven't seen it yet. So let me know down below what you think, what you would grade it as, you know, just your experience with it as a whole. I would love to hear that. If you like this review, I have a couple others up on my channel here, as well as some other comic related content, some hauls, other reviews, you know, glimpses of my large comic book collection, and a whole lot of other things too. If you're thinking about, if you saw this movie and now you're researching and you're thinking about maybe starting to collect comic books, I have a how-to series as well that will help you get started with that. So go thumb around on my thumbnails on the JLSComics YouTube home channel, whatever they call it these days. Hit the subscribe button, you get thumbs, the comments, and all that. And I will see you guys for the next movie.